Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Just ahead of Jeff Paterson, a reminder that Donnie and Dolly, our title sponsor, is Able Auctions. Also just ahead of Jeff Paterson, a tweet from Frank Saravelli.
Yep.
Hearing Derek Clancy has emerged as the Canucks target for one of the assistant GM openings. Clancy was Jim Rutherford's director of player personnel in Pittsburgh, departed organization after Rutherford resigned. He's a current Flames pro scout. What do you know about him?
So I heard this name on Monday, and as I said yesterday, Donnie, he's been talking to former Penguins. He's been talking the Alvin guy, Clancy. He's talking to people he's familiar with. And Donnie, I told you yesterday, hockey people love
Derek Clancy.
They love getting guys that they have a relationship with.
Of course.
They trust. And Clancy was with him for many years in Pittsburgh, heard this name Monday. And then also Alvin, really hearing that he's going to end up in Vancouver in some capacity. That's the early word. But Donnie, not surprised. Not surprised. He's a pro scout right now with Calgary, the Flames, but he did a lot more in Pittsburgh under Rutherford. So keep an eye on that name.
And if I've got the right Derek Clancy on Hockey Database,
Yep.
He also is a former member of the San Jose Rhinos of Roller Hockey International.
Oh, come on.
He also spent some time with the Philadelphia Bulldogs in RHI.
In
Roller Hockey International with the Vancouver Voodoo.
Oh, the Voodoo were great.
Yeah.
You did play-by-play for the Voodoo.
Oh no, we don't want to mention that. No.
Ryan, get some play-by-play going. Doug Ast, remember Doug Ast from Chilliwack?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a great player. Doug Ast was a great Vancouver
with a T at the end.
Ast.
Yeah.
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 Doug was good.
Jason Scoffins as well. And the late, great Ken Kinney in goal. Jeff Paterson joins us now from Sekeres and Price. Canucks over the Blue Jackets 4-3. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you?
I am wonderful. How can you not be? Like, the fun has returned. 'Tis the season, apparently, in Vancouver. Guys, post-game last night, I just got to tell a quick story because I was making my way back from Rogers Arena, and this just I tweeted this out, but this gives you sort of a sense of where we are in this market and the buy-in that has returned in a remarkable hurry. Guy in a pickup truck rolls by, windows down, blaring, another one bites the dust, and fist pumping out the window. Like, come on. A week ago, was anybody doing that in this town?
No.
Yeah. Plan the parade. Hey, 4 points out of a playoff spot, by the way, and that's going to be the focus of our poll question, but that's for another day. Jeff, why are the Bruce Boudreau Canucks able to overcome a 3-0 deficit versus the Travis Green Canucks?
Yeah, and I think I agree with you, Donnie, that just wasn't going to happen. That game last night and that comeback wasn't going to happen over those final couple of weeks for Travis Green for a number of reasons. And, they've turned a page here, and so I kind of feel like we're still shoveling dirt on the old regime, but it was pretty clear that, tensions were high and guys weren't buying in at the end, and I don't know if there were communication issues, but you've heard it so many times here in the past week now. These guys just talking about sort of, the fresh breath of air, that the pressure valve has kind of been released now. And you look at what Bruce Boudreau has done. He's come in, he's had these meetings, and he's had talks with players, and he said, I want to learn about these guys as players, but also as people. And it's not that Travis Green didn't talk to his players either. He always talked about honest communication, but, it just kind of feels like everybody has relaxed a little bit, that they were all waiting for something to happen organizationally, and obviously something did. I mean, it was the nuclear deterrent, and it cost a lot of people and a lot of good people jobs. But now I think the players recognize that it's on them, and they've got a coach that's come in here. He supported them, and you can see it. Like last night, it's Bo Horvat scoring twice. He hadn't scored in 5 games. He hadn't scored under Bruce Boudreau, but he scores twice in a game. The other night, Nils Höglander had gone 11 without a goal. He scores twice. Besser scores in 3 of the first 4. Quinn Hughes has 3 assists last night. On and on it goes. And, JT Miller, we haven't even really talked about JT Miller. He hasn't scored a lot lately, and yet he's the leading scorer under Bruce Boudreau, as he was under Travis Green. So he continues just to play hard and compete. And I think that there is this belief within that room that, they can get this job done. Now, down 3-0, certainly not the way that you want to draw it up ever. And they didn't look very good in that first period. They were sloppy and couldn't complete passes, and they were second to pucks and, winning puck battles and those types of things. And yet they just needed something to go their way. And I heard you talking about Connor Garland, and, he's been the spark plug so often for this team this season. And again, last night, his penalty, the offsetting penalties, gets it down to 4-on-4. And the Canucks' best players stepped up, and Horvat opens the scoring that got the ball rolling, and it just kind of brought that belief back. But even at 3-1, I'm not sure that I thought they were coming all the way back, but credit to them. They didn't let up. And, best players are your best players. Bruce Boudreau talked about it post-game last night. It is a cliche, but you're not going to go very far at any level of hockey without your top players leading the way. And last night, look who it was. It was Horvat with a pair. It was Hughes with 3 assists. It's JT Miller feathering that pass. It was an incredible pass to Horvat on the power play. And so the Canucks' best players stepped up in a big way, and 5-0. I mean, it's impossible to argue with the results.
That pass was a shot. It had some mustard on it. It was just so well done. And by the way, got to give you credit, Jeff. If people want to check out your Twitter account, you have a great tweet about what Boudreau has done statistically for the Canucks' top players. Hey, what has Tyler Myers meant during these 5 games? What has he meant to the Canucks?
Yeah, credit to where it's due. I get that people aren't going to love the contract, and look, there are going to be a lot of nights where he makes mistakes. He's a big guy, and his mistakes are loud, and I think people hold that against him. You're drawn to him because he stands out of the crowd, and some nights it is a struggle for him defensively. But when the chips were down here and they've needed some guys to step up, and I know Rick mentioned it a little bit earlier, Tyler Myers statistically last night was incredible. Almost half the game, almost 30 minutes of hockey, over 10 minutes in the third period alone, in a tight game, and they're trying to mount a comeback, and they're already challenged with their defensive depth, and then Poolman leaves the game. But a couple of assists for Myers, a bunch of hits. He had a couple of block shots. He was all over the stat sheet. And they just need guys to step up and play. Tyler Myers may not be people's favorite player over the course of a season, but in the short term, damn well give this guy credit, because I think he has stepped up. And I thought the other night, Tucker Poolman against Carolina played 2 minutes more than his previous season high in ice time. He had 7 block shots. Again, these guys aren't going to the All-Star game. They're not going to play for the Olympic teams and those types of things. But for the Vancouver Canucks, in the here and now, when they need some guys to step in under extraordinary circumstances, I think you have to salute them and say credit where it's due.
Jeff, this Paterson kid just gets better and better. His confidence is growing. He just loves the extra ice time. He's stepping up to the plate. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, it kind of looked like it was punishment for Elias Paterson to drop down to what was a third line with Connor Garland and Vasily Podkolzin. And right now, that line has been terrific for the Canucks. Garland's going almost every night. You can see that Podkolzin is starting to pick things up on a nightly basis. And the goal last night, in crunch time for the Canucks, ties the game. Great feed from Hughes, but just the fact that Podkolzin is out there in that situation. And then Elias Pettersson starting to dig in a little bit and playing better, and he scored in back-to-back games. Guys, he'd gone the first 28 games without an even-strength goal, and now he scored in back-to-back games at even strength, and they're going to need a whole lot more of that. But I just like that line. It's got a little bit of everything, and Podkolzin's been a huge part of it. And another thing with Bruce Boudreau is that he has he's empowered these young guys. We talked about Höglander the other night. It wasn't going well for Höglander under Travis Green, at least not statistically. And yet he was a buzzsaw against Winnipeg on Friday night. And Podkolzin getting a chance on the power play. He's getting a chance on the penalty kill. You give these guys opportunities, you empower them, they're going to reward coaches like that. And so, it is the great mystery why at the end for Travis Green, he wouldn't extend his penalty killers and look for some different options. And yet, look what it's done for Bruce Boudreau. Last night, only 1 penalty. The Canucks discipline's been pretty good under. Yeah. It's been decent all season long, but they haven't had to kill a lot of penalties. But Carolina on Sunday, the only penalty they had to kill, they're up 2-1 in the third period. That's a high leverage situation. Podkolzin's out there killing the penalty in the third period. Last night, only penalty they had to kill in the final minute, so it wasn't even 2 minutes. But again, it's a 1-goal game, and look, we've talked about how many times we've been on since the start of the season. Penalty killing sunk the Canucks on a lot of nights before the coaching change. And right now in 5 games under Bruce Boudreau, they've killed off some penalties in some big situations. Their penalty kill's up over 80% in these 5 games under Bruce Boudreau. Oh, and the power play, over 30%. So special teams turning in the Canucks' favor, and Vasily Podkolzin has been a part of that resurgent here under Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah, trying something different. You might want to do that when you're 32nd on the PK. Before I let you go, Jeff, let's talk about Jim Rutherford, if you don't mind. It's the first time we've had you on since he was officially hired. Do you believe him when he says he'll be able to manage up?
Well, I thought it was fascinating. 2 Mondays in a row, the owner sat there, once with Stan Smeal and once with Jim Rutherford beside him. And both times guys said, like, I'm prepared to push back. And so it's great to hear that sort of for public consumption. You do hope that it happens behind closed doors as well. But, I would have loved to have seen Jim Rutherford get to the podium there with his 3 Stanley Cup rings and, just tap them on the table a little bit every time that Francesco was talking. They brought this guy in. He's been given powers, and it's impossible to argue with the resume and the track record. This guy's got 3 Stanley Cups to show for his efforts. And you just hope that there have been some lessons learned over these last dark 8 years. It wasn't working. And if the owner was pushing buttons and pulling strings and providing too much input and having final say, he and his family are the owners. They foot the bill. I get that they want things to be run in a certain way, but it hasn't been working for them these last 8 years. So hopefully this house cleaning, and it was extensive, hopefully they turn the keys over to Jim Rutherford. I was impressed with him, Donnie, at the introductory press conference on Monday. I thought he sounded confident. I thought he pulled back the layers a little bit and revealed the 40 candidates for the GA. People here they want a vision. They want a plan. It's something that we haven't heard from anybody in a position of power from the Canucks in a bunch of years. And I thought on day one on the job, Jim Rutherford, he leaned on his experience. He was comfortable. He admitted the things that he didn't know, or the things that he didn't want to get cornered into saying things that were going to be thrown back at him. So when he said the line about give it to the end of January, and but I think he was revealing and telling us that he wants a faster team, and that the Canucks aren't a fast team, and that that there are holes to fill. Like, he wasn't blowing smoke here. He was saying there are some pieces to work with, but there's a lot of hard work to be done as well. So I thought overall he was measured, but there was certainly a conviction in his voice and a clarity in the ideas that he has. And I like the fact that he comes here and has these ideas and a vision to present. And then on day 2, he's got to deal with COVID. Like, that's not exactly what he signed up for, but hey, this is the reality of the world that we live in.
Thanks, Jeff. Get back to listening to Queen. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks.